What's up, YouTube? Leather Jacket John here, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I just want to go over the differences between the two different versions of the Schott Perfectos 618 ribbon label, because there are two distinct versions. So this is the Perfecto ribbon label. That's the ribbon, as you can see. It's the very first time they mentioned steer hide on a Perfecto label. So I have two here. I have the two different versions. One is older, this guy. One is a little bit newer, this guy. If you look at the Rin Tanaka book, they mentioned that this label is late 50s and into the early and mid 60s. Some say that even the older ones are early 60s. I'm not entirely sure. I do think, though, that the older version is in fact very, very late 50s. So the differences. This one is the earlier one, late 50s. This one is the 60s version. So just right off the bat, the cut. All I did is just kind of drop these down onto the ground. Now you can see here with regards to the shoulders. So you see how the shoulder of this version, it's kind of like rotated forward. You can see that the epaulets are kind of rotated towards us. Just kind of think of somebody standing up and kind of like their shoulders hunched forward. That's kind of like the cut of this jacket. You can see how kind of like the sleeve is almost kind of like that back shoulder is kind of raised off the ground, whereas this one is a little bit more straight. It can be seen also when these are hung on the hanger that the shoulder of these are just a little bit more rotated forward. I think that is because you're going to be in a riding position, so they're kind of like building that into the cut of the jacket. Now, as far as the details, let's just go over some of the main differences, so that if you do see these jackets with this label, you can tell which one is the older one and which one is the later one. Now, actually, before I go do that, let me just talk about the other difference in the cut. So I mentioned the shoulders. The older version is also going to be a little bit blockier and a little bit shorter, where these guys are a little bit just a tad narrower and just a tad longer. So this fits a little bit longer and more narrow than this, which fits a little bit blocky. Now, let's go over the details. So, first things first, as you can kind of see here, these are like very, very thick seams. Just look how thick that is and just beefy. Same thing with like down here. Look how thick that is. Whereas here, not as much. Not as much. You can kind of see that down here as well. So that's one thing, but that's just really getting into the details. The main difference is the epaulette. So as you can see, it's a rounded epaulette and it's double stitched. So there's one stitch here, another stitch there, and again, a rounded epaulette. Whereas the later one is a pointed epaulette with a single stitch. So just a single stitch. I'm sorry about the shadow here, but hopefully you can kind of still see it. So that's the main difference. They're both double stitched in the shoulder here. As you can see, both of them have that double stitch, and that double stitch goes on into the later cactus labels. So that is one main difference, and that's like the easiest difference. Another difference is on these earlier ones, there's cloth on the underside of the belt here. Here it's leather. This one has the miter buckle with the cut edges. And this particular, my jacket has a square buckle, but most of these you'll see will have that same buckle. This is a little bit of a earlier Talon zipper. I've seen these zippers on late 50s jackets. That's why I do believe that this guy is in fact the late 50s. And this is more of like your 60s and 70s Talon. So you see this kind of zipper. This is aluminum. And yeah, you see these on 60s, throughout the entire 60s and into the 70s, you'll see this zipper. As far as the layout of the elements, they're pretty much the same. Now, what I mean by that is the position of the zippers, the coin pocket, compared to the body of the jacket. So, again, main difference, rounded epaulette, double stitched, pointed epaulette, single stitched. Now, let's go to here. As you can see, this gusset is loose, not attached to the other side. And as you can see right here, there's a double stitch around the sleeve zipper. And by the way, this is a leather piece. So it's leather and loose. This guy is vinyl and attached in a single stitch. So that's another difference. So whenever you see this kind of a loose gusset, you know it's an older version. Again, this is going to be the main way that you make or determine the difference. And then lastly, on the back, as you can see, the older version has these French seams. French seams here, French seam here, here. And then I've seen some older ones, horsehide ones, where this is French seamed. But you have the beautiful French seaming on these older ones, where the newer one, there's no French seams. No French seams at all. They both have the button for the collar. They both have the shoulder or the action back or back gusset, bi-swing back. There are many names. And you'll see some older ones where this bottom kidney panel, and you can see it a little bit here, where it's a little bit curved. There's a little bit of a curve there, where this one is pretty much straight. So that's another difference. Now, on the inside, and these are true with the older horsehide. You can see that it's vinyl here. The older horsehide ones have that as well. This one also has that, has the vinyl. So, those are the main differences. Oops, sorry. The main differences between the two different versions of the ribbon label Perfecto. And if you saw my previous video, even though this one is a 38, this one's a 36, there is a difference in how they fit as well. This one fits shorter, this one fits a bit longer. They both have a lot of room in the waist. So hopefully that'll help you guys when looking at these jackets and determining what you're looking at. And if, if you're interested, or if you're looking at one of these and interested in buying, then you know the difference. Thank you, and hopefully you stay tuned and be back for some more awesome leather jacket content.